Hi, I'm Dr. Philip Macmillan. I've been focused on autoimmunity in COVID 19, and over the past 2.5 years since the beginning of the COVID 19 pandemic, I've had the tremendous pleasure of speaking to international experts, listening to their viewpoints, studying carefully what happens, and reflecting on it. And today I'm talking about is why are people afraid of Gert speaking up? Now, the background to this is that I have been involved with Gert from quite early on, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it's very difficult to discount somebody like him with the kind of expertise that he has. You have to remember that Gert is a vaccine developer by trade, so to speak. He's been in the industry. He's worked with top international organizations. He is trained in immunology. He's trained in virology. He knows it from both the animal and the human side. He is extremely proficient in what he does. And so for him to come forward and state something that is against what the mainstream narrative would be is really a problem. And I think that many people would prefer if he didn't say anything. But as Gert has it, he will not stop because he thinks it's important. And so, just to give you some context as to where this comes from when I am involved in Gert, as you can see here, I don't know if you can see the writing. This was the very first interview that happened with Gert, and it was a privilege for me to do it. This was in March 2021. It had about 1.5 million views. And then later, I had another conversation with him in March 2021. And then in May 2021, I spoke with him again. And even down here in November 2021, I spoke with Gert again. And so when I talk about the fact that Gert is somebody that I listen to very carefully, I explained that I spoke with him on a number of occasions. And when you do a live presentation like what we've done, you speak to the person before, you speak to them during, and you speak to them after. And so I've heard his perspectives in detail. And the truth is, a lot of the things he says is extremely complex, very high level. And that's one of the challenges, how to put it in a format for people to understand. And so just in July, I had another conversation with Gert, and this is about the pandemic restarting. I'm specifically sharing this on YouTube because at that time, because of a previous video that was not considered to be appropriate, I was unable to share this on YouTube. So you've never heard about this presentation. And so I'm giving you the insight into what is happening and what he has said. What I will say to you is that after that conversation, I still am quite anxious about the future because I listen to what he says. I know that what he says is based on a really detailed approach to the research. And as I warn you, some of the subjects are quite complex. So he was looking at things like looking at the ongoing upcoming pandemic. How is it related? It's an important question. And he was also looking at what type of disease are we expected to see in this next phase of the pandemic. So another really important point because the pandemic is evolving very, very quickly. And critically, how is the pandemic expected to evolve based on the immune status of the population? That's a big one. And listen, as I said before, you have to realize that a lot of this information is not only complex, but controversial because you will not hear it anywhere else other than from someone like Gert. And as I said, I have been privileged to listen to him. I have been privileged to observe what he said at the beginning and what the outcomes were. If there's anything, I think that sometimes he makes the prediction too tightly in terms of time frames. And that can sometimes then make it appear that what he has said hasn't happened because he may have set a time frame. But the principle is simple. He's an expert in what he does. And even if we disagree with him, it is wise to at least listen to him. Why are so many people afraid of him speaking up? Challenge the science. Speak about it. In the description below, you will see the link to see it on my Substack. That's where it is. I didn't necessarily want to put that on YouTube. I'm not sure what they would have thought about it. But yes, just to prepare you that the stuff that he says in it is difficult to hear, difficult to understand, and very concerning for the future. And this is why I think that we must reflect carefully, similar to at the beginning of the pandemic in March, in February, January, February. A lot of the impact of the pandemic was downplayed until it hit. I would hope that this time we are a little bit better in trying to be prepared. You have to remember that when you reflect on outcomes, it's not just appropriate to reflect on what you want or what you expect. You must also look at contingencies. What happens if? And that's what I think Geert is probably talking about. What happens in the context of the pandemic if some of the predictions based on his research occur? That is worrying, and we need to think and try and see if there's any way that this can be mitigated. So please, if you're interested, look at the description below if you click on it, and please think of joining me on Substack. I'll continue to share post videos and podcasts all about COVID-19. So thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a great evening, and most importantly, if interested, take a listen to what Geert has to say.